Siomra beag.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Sure Look, Sure Listen, the podcast that takes a pop at culture.
Sure look, sure listen. Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen.
Sure look, sure listen. Oh, very good, Benjamin. It is another Spartan and dry week of pop culture news. So we've really padded out this week's running order. But sure, look, there's no point in me telling you what I'm going to tell you and then telling you. So here's what I'm going to tell you. We're going to have a look at Blue Beetle, Benjamin, and how it's completely doomed right from the get-go. But not a terrible week for the WB, because Barbie is not doomed. Barbie is their new biggest character of all time. And Percy Jackson is back. Your favourite character, Percy Jackson. And your least favourite character, Scott Pilgrim, is also back. And then, Ben, in a desperate scrape of the bottom of the barrel, you finally found a trailer for a new thing that's coming out the week. Landscape with Invisible Hand, which doesn't make any sense, but I'm sure there's some context.
Oh, sure listen, Michael, if that wasn't enough, and it really isn't.
Not even close.
We are coming to you live, ladies and gentlemen, from the bottom of the barrel. That's where we are. It's where we live now. It's our only hope. Here. It's so dark. Nobody's here. Nobody. Not a celebrity in the bunch. Come here to me. Come here.
What
to
is
me.
it?
We're going to be taking a look, Michael. Where is the love? Where has it gone? The slow and gradual shift away from romantic chemistry on screen to something more platonic, perhaps, Michael, or something more forged in professional conduct.
Exactly, Ben. You turned to me the other week and said, why is no one fucking in cinema anymore? And we've kind of put a polite sheen onto that.
I think, Michael, you'll find that you were the one who turned around to me and said, why is no one fucking in cinema anymore?
Well, Benjamin, if no one is fucking in cinema anymore, then why is Blue Beetle so fucked?
That's actually remarkably good as a segue. That was pretty solid.
I was setting it up from the whole thing.
Thank you very much. Michael, nobody's gone to see Blue Beetle.
Nobody in the world, Benjamin. You love our famous segment on the podcast, What Are the Box Office Numbers? So in anticipation of your excitement about hearing some numbers, I've done you a bit of research, Ben. Do you want to know Blue Beetle's opening weekend, domestic as the Americans call it?
Not just me, Michael, the listeners too. That's the only reason they tune in. It's for the numbers.
$25 million.
Michael, barely enough to pay my mortgage this week.
Barely. You don't have a mortgage, Ben.
No, I don't.
I'm
I
not
can't
gonna
afford
go
a
in.
mortgage in this economy.
You can't afford one, Ben. I'm not going to go into where you're currently living. That is not a topic for the podcast. But you don't pay a mortgage on under a bridge. But anyway, look, 25 million, Ben. In America, in that America, Ben, in what the Americans, with all their hubris, call the domestic box office, that has got to number one. But just about. It only just pipped Barbie in its fourth week of release.
Oh, really?
Just about pipped it. So it is the number one movie in America this weekend. But 25 million, Ben. For context, for a bit of context for you. Do you remember the film The Flash, Ben? Do you remember that?
I would rather not, but
Yeah.
I have seen it, yes.
Yeah. No one went to see it, Ben. The Flash made 55 million.
Without even trying.
No, it did try. But The Flash made 55 million and Blue Beetle made 25 million, Ben. And I don't know if you know this about numbers, but that is substantially less.
Get out of town. Is it?
Yeah, less than half.
Oh, that's very awkward. I'm going to have to go call my accountant. You spin your wheels there. I've made some serious errors in repayments. Fuck.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ben has invested heavily in Blue Beetle. While other people were buying Bitcoin, Ben was buying Blue Beetle NFTs.
I thought it was Bitcoin. I thought it was a different type of bloody cryptocurrency, Blue Beetle.
Yeah, no, scarabs, you were saying. I'm going to buy 100 million scarabs. But I tell you what, they didn't turn out to be any use because no one went to see Blue Beetle. Apparently it's fine, though.
Apparently it's great. There's a lot of reviews in there like this is a good film. It's a shame no one's going to see it.
Nobody cares about Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle never had a chance. We knew it from the first trailer we saw that no one was going to go and see this.
And Michael, the best part about this is that Hollywood will definitely learn the right lesson from it. It's not the fact that there's a massive strike on at the moment.
No.
It's not the fact that you can't gear your celebrities up to go and promote the film.
No, it's not that.
It's not the fact that most people are staying away from the cinema at the moment because there's not much on and they can't advertise properly.
Well, that's not true, Ben, because Barbie just literally days ago was a massive international hit.
No, that goes against my point, Michael, so I wasn't going to mention it. I was just going to omit it.
Yeah. Classic liar.
It's called the colloquy fallacy, Michael.
The lie of omission, as they say.
Yeah.
Go on anyway, sorry, what were you saying?
But Michael, what they're going to say is, it's all these Latino people. Nobody wants Latino people in films.
Latinos don't show up, they're going to say.
That's what they're going to say. And there's probably going to be a slur if it's someone at Disney, because the Disney executives seem to say terrible things behind closed doors. Allegedly. Yeah, allegedly. Ben, the thing is, you could argue that Blue Beetle is a crappy character that no one cares about anyway. He's a real C-lister. But so was Iron Man in 2007. He was. This could have been their Iron Man.
Yeah, especially because they seem to have made it as their Iron Man, because it's a guy who becomes a Blue Beetle and fights a slightly bigger guy with the same powers.
Do you know what really sets Iron Man and Blue Beetle apart, though?
Robert Downey Jr.
No, people went to see Iron Man.
They did. Not that many.
Not that many, but enough.
Not that many. It was like 350 million box office for Iron Man. It was good, but it wasn't spectacular.
Michael, I don't know if you know this about numbers, but 350 million is significantly more than 21.
Yeah. Now, that was
I've just learned that.
Yeah. You're learning a lot this week. That was Iron Man's entire run, not just its opening weekend. But Blue Beetle is doomed. It's absolute sham. It's going to fail completely. We'll be able to see it on streaming in a week or two.
Michael, I tell you what isn't doomed.
What is not doomed?
Bloody Barbie.
Barbie isn't doomed, Ben. Barbie is well on track, conversely, to being the biggest film of the summer.
It's going to be huge, Michael.
Ginormous, Ben.
Big boingo bucks.
Yeah. Bigger than Batman. It's this week it passed Batman's box office, the Dark Knight box office, to become Warner Brothers' biggest film of all time.
Oh, Christopher Nolan won't like that. That'll really chap his buns, won't it?
Well, I don't know, because his intimate little no special effects drama Oppenheimer has massively benefited from this relationship. So,
Michael,
will he mind?
Michael, now come here to me.
What?
I think
what is
if
it?
you look up fragile white male ego in the dictionary, the Pictionary that we all have because we struggle to read. Everybody has one. That's what my mum told me. I think you'll probably find a picture of Chris Nolan going, it's not real cinema. It's not.
Is he that way inclined? Is he a bit of a dickus?
He's a bit of a dickus.
Is he?
He can be. He can
what
be.
a shame. What a shame for Chris Nolan. But anyway, I think what's going to be interesting about this is there are going to be like 2 or 3 different sides of the coin of this, of saying, watch Hollywood, learn the wrong lesson. And this is my favourite, watch Hollywood, learn the wrong lesson. Because one part of Hollywood is going to say, watch Hollywood learn the wrong lesson and start releasing lots and lots of movies based on 80s childhood nostalgia.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, and then they'll be saying, when really what it should be is movies directed for women, by women, and about women.
Yeah, I think they probably missed the point. It's not that, surely, Michael. It's not women.
But Ben, there's 2 big movies this summer. 2 big movies this year.
Mm-hmm.
Barbie
and Blue Beetle.
No. Do you know what the only movie that's made more money than Barbie this year so far is?
Iron Man?
80s children's nostalgia movie, The Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, fuck.
So, maybe the people who are saying we need more films for women, by women, and about women are missing the point. And what we actually need right now, goddammit, is the G.I. Joe movie again.
Again.
Because now is the time for 80s childhood nostalgia movies.
I want Channing Tatum back as Duke immediately.
Benjamin, I don't think there has ever been an 80s childhood nostalgia movie series other than G.I. Joe, which has failed.
I want Channing Tatum back as Duke.
He's dead.
No, bring him back.
No,
we're doing a hard reboot, Michael. I tell you what would work very, very well.
Go on.
A G.I. Joe movie in a similar tone to both Toy Soldiers and the Barbie movie.
Oh, very good. But Benjamin, you know this and I know this, and a little bit of a spoiler here.
Go on.
the Hasbro Cinematic Universe is underway, because in the post-credit scene for Transformers: Rise of the Transformers, the G.I. Joes showed up.
Fuck off.
And they were like, we were G.I. Joe the whole time.
Oh.
And the robots were like, oh, where are you? What does that mean? And I was, well, you'll find out soon.
Who is that? Wait, is this real? Are you lying to me?
No, the post-credit scene for Transformers: Rise of the Beasts was, oh, we need you, the Latino guy. We need you, Latino guy, to be a G.I. Joe with us. And he was like, oh, all right, I guess, yeah, sure.
So he was a Transformer and a G.I. Joe?
Well, he wasn't a Transformer. He just put on a Transformer suit.
I was lied to then. I thought he turned into a Transformer.
He put on a Transformer suit. I don't remember, Ben.
I didn't see it, Michael.
Rubbish.
I avoided
Rubbish.
it like the plague. I was afraid there was going to be another classic. It's fine to sleep with minors. I have a card. Here, look.
Yeah, look, you can look at this. It's me, Jack Rayner from Dublin.
The worst representation of an Irishman on screen since Tom Cruise in Far and Away.
Absolutely tanked that man's career, but sure, look, that's none of our business.
I haven't seen Jack Rayner in shit recently.
He hasn't been in anything since that, ever since he was a rally driving pederast. Ben, you were saying recently that one of your favourite movie series was not Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Because Harry Potter didn't speak to your schooling.
Yes.
Because you didn't go to a British boarding school. You went to a fun summer camp with Americans.
I did.
So you said, I don't know where this is going.
It's all right. You're going to have to lean in now. I'm not going to help you.
I actually know for a fact, hilariously, that you actually did go to a British Protestant boarding school, but that's neither here nor there. That's a topic for another day. You went to a fun American summer camp where everyone's children were gods and whatnot.
Yep.
And so your favourite series of supernatural boy going to supernatural school growing up was Percy Jackson.
Yeah, I went to Camp Pureblood, Michael, and then it got very awkward when they started making us do that weird salute and dyeing our hair blonde, so I wrote to my parents to take us home.
Was it called Camp Pureblood?
No, it's Camp Half-Blood in the Percy
I
Jackson
see
series.
what you've done. You've turned it, you've satirised it with Nazis.
Yeah. As with all good American satire these days,
Yeah.
you just give it a lash with Nazis.
Just compare someone to Nazis. Are you doing a satire? Who's Nazis? Who's the Nazis in your story? Is it the Conservatives or the woke agenda? Who's Nazis?
Everybody's Nazis. That's the fun thing about America. Everybody's Nazis, allegedly.
Brilliant. Allegedly. Benjamin, I saw the trailer for Percy Jackson and the... What's it called?
Olympians.
And the Olympians. I tell you what, looks the same as the original one to me, but Alexandra Daddario's not in it anymore.
Michael, now I tell you, things got pure interesting because I didn't realise people hated with such... First of all, I didn't realise Percy Jackson had such a vehemently fanatic fan base.
Yeah, it's like Harry Potter, but for bland Americans.
Yeah, but we have to have one of those for every type of franchise we have.
Go on.
We have to have a blandified American version. You had James Bond over here in the UK, Mission Impossible in the States.
Oh yeah, Mission Impossible, James Bond for bland Americans.
Yeah, it was very funny. We had the Transporter over here in the UK. We got Fast and Furious over there in the States.
Did you just say over here in the UK there?
Oh, fuck.
Is that what you just said?
Fuck. Right. That's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. I can't even say sure listen with a straight face anymore.
It's just to check in, Ben, for a second. Did you just say we have James Bond over here in the UK? You've got 30. Benjamin Colopy.
Yeah.
The ghost of Michael Collins has just appeared over my shoulder, and he said to me in a Cork accent, which I'm not going to attempt. He said,
right.
No, you listen to me, boy.
Oh.
You tell him. It's an old-timey Cork accent. You tell him to fucking explain what he just said now, or else I'm coming and taking away his United Irishman card.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am so sorry. I will retire from podcasting post-haste. What I meant to say was, over there in the shit-eating UK...
No, that's gone too far. You're going to frighten away our English listener.
I can't win.
Anyway, Percy Jackson.
Can't win. Bland American Harry Potter. Yeah. Yeah, the Edge from WWE's in this.
He is. Is he? Who is he?
He's not the Edge. Yeah, I think he's his dad. I think he's Poseidon.
Oh, is he
quite
beside?
funny.
Yeah, it's Edge. It's not the
It's just
Edge.
Edge. The
It's
Edge.
just
I
Edge.
said that during the week to someone, and they were like, "Why the fuck would I care if the Edge was in Percy Jackson?" Because they're
Yeah.
a huge wrestling fan. And I was like, "No. The Edge, the wrestler." And they're like, "Oh, Edge, you idiot."
Edge. Yeah.
And I
The
was
Edge is the guitarist from U2, Ben.
Yeah, it was really weird. Really
Popular
weird.
British band U2, as you call them.
Yeah. Popular British band U2. Fuck. Michael, we got no information from this trailer other than a recap of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, which we saw many, many years ago.
Yeah, Percy Jackson, Give Me Back That Lightning, I think it was called here.
Yeah, with a bit more nuance.
When they released it here, it was called Percy Jackson, Give Me Back That Lightning, and everyone had funny accents. Ben, I don't really... I can't say I'm not even going to roll my eyes over this. I just... I don't see... It even looks the same.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, it's kind of
I
preempting.
don't care.
It's kind of preempting the inevitable. We're about 3 or 4 years away from an inevitable bland retelling of Harry Potter. And
That's coming. That's official.
yeah. Well, we'll see. And it's pretty much going to look like this, I reckon.
Yeah, it's going to be the same thing.
Ben,
Yes.
you were saying that one of your favourite films of recent times was Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
I do like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, actually. And now you're going to hit me with a fact that everyone was accused of sexual harassment on the set.
Were they?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I
hope not.
I think everyone's scot-free on that one.
Hey!
Anyway, Ben, would you like to see that film remade, but as an animated series?
No, thanks. I'm all right.
Okay, well, I don't know what to tell you then, because that's what's happening.
Yeah, we got the teaser trailer for Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the anime, Michael.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same cast.
Same cast. They got them all back together. Everybody's
got
back
everyone.
on board.
I don't think there's anyone not in it.
Yeah, not a one.
I heard the opening line of We Are Sex Bomb, Ben, and thought, that sounds very familiar. That sounds exactly like the movie.
Yes, it sounds exactly like the actress from the movie who said that
Because
line.
I tell you why, it actually is.
Yeah, it is. It's bizarre.
What's the point of this?
I think it's to pay homage to the fans of the movie. Give them something
Is it?
new. I don't know.
What
Michael.
I thought was maybe it was going to be a bit more of a faithful retelling.
Well,
of
it
the
is.
comic
It's
book.
it's based directly on both the art style and the comic book of Brian Lee O'Malley. Scott Pilgrim versus the World found a massive wave of bonus cinema fans when it came out, but it was already a very, 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 very successful comic book from Brian Lee O'Malley, and it was a weird little anime. And it was kind of a weird one. It kind of launched Edgar Wright in that America over there. You know, it kind of gave him his big American blockbuster moment.
Go on. Was it a
And-
success?
I can't say. I will look up the figures now, Michael.
I think it was lukewarm.
But I think it's gotten what the kids are calling a cult following.
I think it has got a cult following, indeed.
I think
It's
it has-
generally regarded
yeah.
as quite a good film.
I think it's a great film. I genuinely believe Scott Pilgrim versus the World was an interesting, fun, out there film with a bit of experimentation. It's good. It's good, you know? It's good. But in general, Michael, I don't know if it aged that well.
Oh, go on.
In that it's very stylized, and you know that type of film has only become more popular. But as we know, Michael, when a very stylized thing becomes popular, it just gets a bit jaded because we churn out a lot of stuff that kind of does the same thing.
Like what? Go on. I'm interested in hearing more on this.
Well, off the top of my head, I'll give you the box office first because I have it here in front of me. But I'll come back to that. Hang on. Where are the numbers? Only in its opening weekend, Michael, it had a decent. Well, it didn't really actually. It was all right. It did fine. It released in North America on August 13th, 2010, opening in 2,818 teachers. And the first week of its release, Michael, this is ludicrous, Michael. Only 10.5 million, 14.1 adjusted for inflation.
Yeah.
So that's not
Indie.
great.
No, indie.
Indie.
Lukewarm.
I watched a very interesting interview with young Michael Cera there, Michael.
Go on.
And he was talking about how he had found himself in his career at a certain point, probably around the time this was released in the 2010s, Michael, where there were a lot of films being released called indie, but they had massive studio blockbusters. They were like studio-produced indies.
Yeah.
And so it was actually kind of a myth to call it indie because it had a massive budget behind it. So I suppose by that metric, Michael, probably not great. Not great figures.
But I don't like it. Scott Pilgrim versus the World was obviously a big production, but it wasn't a modern superhero blockbuster budget.
No, probably not that.
They probably made it for 40 or 50 million.
Barely make my mortgage payment, Michael.
Pocket change. You could pay for Ben's under the bridge accommodation in the UK with that amount.
See what you did there, you
Thank you very much. Ben, look,
I'll
watch this. I think I'm interested in seeing it. I like Scott Pilgrim the movie, and I'm interested in seeing this.
So I think it follows just the arcs of the comic in a much more faithful way because they didn't have to shove it into a 2-hour film.
Maybe. And maybe everyone's still horrible.
The other thing about that, Michael, is fascinatingly, if we were to remake Scott Pilgrim as a film today, you'd never get it in a single film. They definitely do part 1, and we'd get the first, 6 books of the manga, and then we get part 2 and the other 6 books of the manga. You'd never get a whole thing like that made today.
Well, I think there'd be backlash against it anyway, Ben, because at least one of the characters would be described as toxic.
Oh, yeah. Well, everybody's toxic, Michael. You and I are toxic.
Oh, yeah. Like, Britney Spears actually wrote a song about you.
Yeah, she did, yeah.
Famous Britney Spears song, Womanizer.
Yes, it's a very famous song.
Yeah.
Michael, come here to me. You and I are in a codependent toxic relationship.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, well, that's what we're in. That was the other name for this podcast, ladies and gentlemen. We thought it would be too on the nose.
I thought you were doing a lead-in to another thing we were going to talk about.
Oh, that would have been better, yeah. Sorry, you should do that. Go back. Imagine, ladies and gentlemen, that I didn't spoil my own great lead-in. And I talked about Landscape with Invisible Hand.
What's that even mean?
Michael, this is a movie, and because nobody's promoting these movies, the listeners might not have heard of it. I've only caught it in the last 2 weeks, Michael, because I saw 2 different trailers, 2 very different trailers, Michael, on Landscape with Invisible Hand. So what's happened is, by the looks of things,
yeah,
there are weird aliens that have come to Earth.
Oh yeah, okay.
And they're like anthropology aliens.
Oh, they're going like, what's going on with humans?
Yeah, so they're trying to understand humans. And in order to do that, Michael, a few different things have happened, right?
Oh.
Now, the first trailer I saw for this was pitched as a young, strange romantic comedy. Now, this is an interesting one for you. So, there are 2 people, and they decide to fall in love. And they decide to make money off the fact that they fall in love, but we don't know as the audience how they're going to do that, because in the first half of this trailer, Michael, the first trailer I saw for this, there's no mention of aliens. I
didn't see this first trailer, Ben.
No, you haven't.
This is all news to me.
This is where it gets very interesting, Michael. So we had no idea there was going to be aliens, and we thought it was just a classic, we're from a small town and different sides of the tracks and we're in love with each other and this is how our lives go. But then we see they clip in a little modular unit just above their eyebrow, Michael, and it's a little streaming chip for the aliens in their spaceships above to watch their romance.
Oh, very clever.
And the more popular they become, Michael, the more money they make off the aliens, because the aliens seem to have quarantined the Earth and now run the economy.
Oh, that's some sort of commentary, Ben, on commodifying happiness.
Just about everything, Michael, I would say. Just about everything. Yeah. And so that's pretty interesting. And what happens is they get caught out because they fall out of love, and then they're accused of faking it by the aliens, and they have to pay back all the money they make.
It's a pastiche of social media.
But Michael...
What?
Then we got this trailer. The second trailer.
So, what is this then? An anthology? Is this an anthology of little stories?
No, it's a single film.
Okay.
But the second trailer, Michael, has nothing to do with that. It's Tiffany Haddish.
What's she up to?
She's the mother of one half of the couple I just described.
Ah, I see. Okay.
And she has to marry one of the aliens.
Yeah.
Because they want to study what marriage is like. Another commentary, Michael.
Yeah, I've actually seen this already. This was called Third Rock from the Sun, and it was a 1990s sitcom.
It gave us the gift that is John Lithgow.
No, John Lithgow had already been around a long time before that.
Yes, and Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah. He was a French steward.
And He was French Stewart.
No, French Stewart was French Stewart.
Yes, French Stewart was French Stewart. Right, moving on from there, Michael. But this looks to
It
be...
did give us the gift that is Joseph Gordon-Levitt, though.
I don't know if that's a gift.
Oh, he was in 500 Days of Summer, one of your favourite romantic comedies.
He seems like a bit of a dose, Michael.
Ah, yeah, he does seem like a bit of a dose.
He does. But the aliens in this seem like a bit of a dose, Michael. They don't seem like a fun bunch at all. So what we get in this is very much an investigation into what we put up with as love, I think, Michael. So she obviously needs money because apparently the economy is run into the ground and there's very little to do. There's a lot of commentary from the kids in the film about how this isn't real life and how they're kind of living in a cage or a box, or it's all very bland.
Yeah, because the aliens have sorted everything out.
And because it's America and bland Americans love knockoff kind of Third Rock from the Sun things. So what we're getting is kind of a commentary on, so I suppose in the first one it's how we perform love on social media in trailer number 1.
All right.
And then in the second one it's probably a commentary on how we can miscommunicate or marry the wrong person. And how
is that what it's about?
I don't know. I couldn't say, Michael. It's based on a novel from a man called M.T. Anderson.
Okay, M.T. Anderson.
M.T. Anderson.
That sounds like a nom de plume.
It probably is. M.T. Anderson, Michael. Paul Thomas Anderson was taken, so he probably just went with that. So M.T. Anderson, Michael, wrote this novel in 2017.
That's quite recent.
It's very, very recent, Michael. And as with many things we've covered on this podcast lately, including The Changeling last week, Michael, our worst reel of recent times, by the way. I'm very upset with the reception to our Changeling reel. But Victor
Lavelle
cares
wrote The Changing.
Nobody cares. Victor Lavelle wrote his in 2018. So apparently we've run out of content and classic books. So now we're just snapping things up as soon as they come out. We're like, okay.
Have you finished writing that yet? We need to make a mediocre TV show.
Or a mediocre film, please. Give us a chance. So yeah, anyway, I don't know what to say about it, Michael. It looks to be a kind of commentary on modern love and how performative it can be. And yeah, sure, we'll probably give it a watch, Michael, because there's nothing else on.
There's nothing else on, Ben. The aliens are gross little fleshy footstools.
He's called a fleshy coffee table in the trailer.
Oh yeah. Gross. Gross little square fellas.
I tell you what Hollywood thinks is gross these days, though, Michael.
Kissing.
I'll have less of it.
No one's ever kissing anymore, Ben, in films.
No one's ever having a snuggy wuggy.
So, Ben, we're talking about what's going on. We're not going to. Well, we're going to hope not. No, I hope we're not going to get too much into the weeds here on like whether this is a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
Because whether this is a good thing or a bad thing is very much up to personal opinion.
Yeah.
So we're not saying this is progress or this is a backslide in society. We're just saying that we've noticed that there's a lot less kissing and riding in films these days.
Yeah.
And what might be causing that and what's going on. And the kind of major reasons that made us kind of notice it were a couple of recent releases for me.
Yeah, go on.
In particular, The Meg and Twisted Metal.
Oh, yes.
The Meg especially, because The Meg has one of the most chaste, virginal, hands-free romances I've ever seen on screen, where Jason Statham seems to enter a relationship with the Chinese lady character through mutual respect and friendship.
Yeah.
But are they a couple? I don't know. They seem to be, but we certainly don't see it. It's all best left implied.
No.
Exactly. So, that was one of the... And have you seen The Meg too, Ben?
I haven't had the pleasure.
Ben, he adopts her daughter. She dies. She dies off screen.
What do you mean she dies off screen? Did the Meg get her?
No. His Chinese girlfriend, I guess, dies off screen, and he has now adopted her daughter, so he has a adopted teenage girl. It's weird.
I don't like that.
No, I didn't love it. But then the other thing that I saw recently, and Ben, there's dogs in the background. So many people are going to complain.
There is. I'm sorry. That's not even a dog in this house. It's just...
There were people complaining last time there were dogs. People hate dogs on
People
podcasts.
hate dogs being sad. Hang on, I'll go close a window. Hold on. You spin your wheels there. Keep spinning.
Well, Benjamin, the other thing that made us think about the change in the landscape of romance or attraction or doing a big kiss on films and in TV was Twisted Metal. Because Twisted Metal, despite coming out in 2023, is in many ways feels like a bit of a throwback to the olden days, where a male heroic character goes on an adventure and gets the girl. And not only does he get the girl, but he gets the girl in a big kissy face. It's not explicit, but it's, well, I suppose explicit. Not explicit in a like XXX sort of way, but an explicit lovemaking scene between two characters.
Ooh.
Well, that's interesting that you've said that. Like, you're not seeing gross bits banging off each other, Ben.
I don't want to see
It's
any
not
bits, Michael. I'm in a classic no sex in films camp. I'm delighted with this development.
Are you?
Oh, I find it so uncomfortable.
That's funny because I've seen your internet search history. It's such a dichotomy.
The dichotomy of man, Michael.
Very good. So Ben, that's what made us think about what's the deal with the no sex in films?
Yeah, that's what we're here to talk about, Michael. So, Michael, I've prepared for you. A little jaunt through the world of how did we get here?
Oh yeah, go on.
How did romance start out on films? So, in general, Michael, much like anything that we watch, monsters, bloody sci-fi tropes, whoever the spy of the week is, it's a reflection of what we're feeling in society overall.
All right.
It's not particularly groundbreaking to say that cinema is a mirror of humanity.
Oh,
All right.
Wow.
No, it's not. I haven't blown your mind. Fuck you.
Oh,
How
well,
dare you?
calm down,
How
Nietzsche.
dare... Ah, fuck off. Right, okay. So, come here to me.
Yeah, what is it?
The early days of cinema, romance was one of the biggest genres, and you had to have your romance scene with it. It was
I wouldn't.
just...
Ben,
Huh?
if I was around the 20s and you said, do you want to go see a film? And I would have said, is there any kissing in it? And if you said no, I wouldn't have gone.
You wouldn't have gone, Michael, because the only place you could see a bit of the fucking how's your mother, you know, a bit of that, bit of hanky panky, as it were, Michael,
In live action.
in live action was the cinema. And Michael, let's not forget, at that time, fucking very good looking people in the cinema.
Oh, go on.
We didn't have as much media depicting beautiful people in the 1920s.
Right, go on.
The means of reproduction wasn't there, Michael.
No, they had willies.
No. Very good, Michael. But the means of image reproduction were not to the level that they are today. I mean, sure, you could go and have a look at a picture in a gallery of some bloody model from 1865 with her midriff on display, Michael. You could do
I suppose
that.
you could go and see a burlesque if you wanted.
You could probably go get a burlesque. There was
Get a burlesque. Is that
Get a
how you
burlesque.
say it?
Yeah, that's
all right.
definitely how you say it. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You could probably go stick a coin in a meter and watch a bloody flashy picture show.
Yeah, what are they called? Zoetropes?
Zoetropes, yeah. We
No,
call them.
they're Tyranids from Warhammer.
No, zoetropes. Yeah, so you could go and get yourself a tyrannid. That was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Michael, one of the biggest ones that we had to have was the heteronormative relationship. Big, strong man, demure woman, damsel in distress very, very often. Slight changes on that. You might get a broad with a bit of a lip on her, like a Casablanca.
Yeah. Abroad, I think they're called, yeah.
But overall, Michael, you had your very in their lane, sturdy male lead character, leading female character, good amount of snogging at the end of the film, possibly a slap somewhere in there.
That's pretty much what your search history says, yeah.
Not great. Fuck you. Right. So that moved on from there, Michael, and we moved into the 1950s and 60s, and that was the boom of romantic comedy. And that coincided, I suppose, Michael, with kind of the growth of promiscuity in our society, where young
Not
people
in our
were...
society, Ben. No
Huh?
one was fucking in the 50s in Ireland.
No, there was an absolute drought. Children were brought about by suffering and immaculate conception.
If there was sufficient suffering, another child would spout out of the potato field.
Out of the potato field, you'd be going along picking up your potatoes, and every once in a while,
Yeah.
out would pop a baby, and you'd go, fuck, Bridget, it's another one.
Another child of suffering, Bridget.
Another child of suffering. That, or the second most popular theory, which was the hangover fumes from whenever the owl fella was in the pub would coalesce into a single little bouncing baby boy.
Very good.
So women came from the potato fields, men came from hangover fumes. That's how it
From
worked.
the pints, yeah.
And from the pints. Too many pints. Now, Michael, the rise in kind of a more open culture outside of Ireland, naturally, gave rise to our very kind of idealized American things like Roman Holiday in 1953, Breakfast at Tiffany's in 1961, Some Like It Hot. These kind of films started to surge forward. They started to come out, and they were very, very popular depictions of kind of jaunty romps about America.
Why, Catherine, I think I'm feeling that I might like to give you a big kiss.
It's either that or I want to suck you in the chops. Oh, America's terrible. So, anyway. Then, Michael, we got the art house films of the late 60s and the counterculture movement of the 1970s, and we began to really charge ahead with second wave feminism, and we started to challenge those stereotypes in films, and we got films like Annie Hall, where women had full agency and things like that. Woody Allen, bad bloke, but Annie Hall was a fairly seminal film for shaking down the stereotypes of romance in film.
Go on.
And so that came along, and we had a smart talking woman who was very, very capable, and a man who didn't really know how to get her. But then again, Woody Allen knew how to get women. It was through harassment. Anyway, we'll do that another time. We'll talk about that on another podcast.
And she had a tie on then, even though she was
had
a woman.
A tie on, and they say to this day Diane Keaton has never taken that tie off.
Yeah, even in the nude, she's just wearing a tie.
She's just wearing that tie.
That's just triggered one specific person somewhere in the world that has triggered their specific Diane Keaton in nothing but a tie kink.
Yep, it's mixed search history, ladies and gentlemen. There we go. Who can play at this game, you son of a bitch? So anyway, that brought us into the diversity and inclusivity kind of surge of movies, where we got a little bit more of desegregated America introduced to us in the 1980s films. Sex was in the 1980s, Michael. A lot of glistening bodies, a lot of taut bums, that kind of thing.
Oh, have you ever seen the film Terminator?
Yes, and that naturally coincided with the bodybuilding era of thing, and so sex became far less about romance and far more about people kind of mashing their hard bodies together.
And you don't like that?
I'm not a huge fan of it in cinema, Michael, I tell you. I'm not really. It's not for me.
But Benjamin, if Kyle Reese and Sarah Connor hadn't made passionate love on screen, then John Connor wouldn't have been born to lead the human revolution.
Yeah, you see, I don't think that's true, Michael.
But they would. How were we supposed to know that they'd fallen in love and had a big sex?
Because you just do it in the next movie. There's just a baby.
Oh, the Chinese method.
Yeah, the Chinese method. Or you go out to the potato field on a wet day.
All right.
And you stick your hand in the deepest puddle you can find, and there it is.
Every movie in the 80s, Ben, that was an action movie had an action movie for adults or a thriller for adults. Every single one of them had at least heavy petting.
A little bit of heavy petting, Michael.
If not full-on sex scenes.
Or a classic tense moment in a tight corridor or elevator shaft or something. Just press those hard bodies
Except
together.
Die Hard. Die Hard doesn't have a sex scene.
It's not allowed. Holly Gennaro's being held by Alan Rickman. It's not allowed.
Yeah. It's very hard to have a sex scene with Alan Rickman watching and going, excellent.
It's handy to have a policeman's wife.
Don't know if that was a great Alan Rickman.
It was a shit Alan Rickman impression. I'm disgusted with myself. But
very poor.
come here to me. The biggest amount of diversity that we've seen, Michael, is probably from the 2000s onwards. We were in our third wave feminism era, so that kind of shit didn't fly anymore. And one of the things that we got mostly out of the 2000s to 2010 era of romantic comedy and romance on screen in general is the depressing real life depiction of how sometimes love just doesn't work out.
Classic. Knocked Up.
So not quite, but not quite the same. But you said it earlier, Michael. Not Eternal Sunshine, I suppose. 500 Days of Summer, Michael. You said 500 Days of Summer. A very realistic depiction of sometimes you can have a big fantasy in your head. Maybe you think you're going to get the girl, but just because you want her doesn't mean you get her. Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, well, that was actually a character he was playing then. That wasn't the actor. That wasn't a biography of the actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, no, it was.
Okay.
Oh, he spoke about it behind the scenes.
It's funny you say that, right? Because I actually... It's funny, right? As an adult in 2023...
Yeah.
I kind of see things as, like, the 80s, the 90s, a blur now.
The 80s, the 90s, a blur now.
Yeah. So, 2 decades have passed. The 2010s and the 2000s have passed. And... I don't think that it has been a steady curve of increasing conservatism or desire not, because there was a peak in the mid 2000s of everything had sex scenes in it. Everything. And cinema, yes, but it was the peak of sex scene led TV, big budget TV shows.
Nipples on HBO.
Nipples on HBO. Think, Ben, of the difference between Game of Thrones Season 1 and Game of Thrones Season 8.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones Season 1, we saw every character's bodily bits.
Everybody,
whether we wanted to or not, except Varys. Because he had the incident.
That's so interesting that they wouldn't show that.
Yeah. It probably would have been a bit too much special effects work.
Hashtag eunuch representation now.
Yeah. But if you compare season 1, 2, 3 of Game of Thrones from the early 2010s, or was it 2009 even?
Tits everywhere, Michael.
The last couple of years, the cultural difference in that short time is incredible.
Yeah, it's huge.
Very little nudity and kissing. Strangely enough, there's doesn't, as sex scenes are being eliminated from popular culture to a degree, I think, from general popular culture. It doesn't seem to matter that you can still show men's bums. Men's bums are the last kind of all right thing that we'll accept on screen, I think.
Thor: Love and Thunder.
Thor: Love and Thunder was a very famous one, but also comparing, say, the vast variety of sex scenes from the early days of Game of Thrones to the last two series, where if you were lucky, you might see Jon Snow's bottom.
Tush.
His little tushy.
It's called the Tushy Clause, ladies and gentlemen, and it means that every male star has to get their buns out just the once.
Just the once at least. Anyway, sorry. But, I mean, that era was just full of full nudity and sex on TV.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think there's a few different things that have probably shaped that. Yeah.
The TV show Spartacus contained the line where your favourite actor of all time, whose name I've now forgotten, the guy from The Mummy. How
could you forget Brendan Fraser?
Not Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser's not in Spartacus.
Arnold Voulis.
No, Apostolou. He's my favourite character. He's from Northern Ireland. What's his name?
John Hannah.
John Hannah's
Scottish. But anyway.
Oh, he's Scottish.
You're thinking of James Nesbitt.
I am thinking of James Nesbitt. John Hannah says in an episode of Spartacus, he says, Ben, remove cock from hand and take her arse.
Right. Okay.
And you wouldn't get that in 2023, I don't think.
All right. I don't think so, John. I don't think that'll fly.
Now, Ben, John Hannah was playing a character. John Hannah didn't write that line.
I think he did, Michael. I think famously what we always forget is that stars are the characters they play in franchises.
Yeah, and are responsible for the acts of the character, no matter how reprehensible. That's why
Yeah.
Cillian Murphy's in jail.
Yeah, that's why we put him there.
Yeah, because he kept trying to poison everyone with scarecrow gas.
And Killian, it's not. He was down the local pub in Cork, just going, nah. And we're like, Killian, will you stop? Just stop out of that, Killian. Well, shy away from me now.
It was the ghost of Michael Collins, Ben, who appeared and said, "Stop scarecrow gassing everyone.
Stop fear gassing people, Killian. We could have used you in the war, but not now, Killian. Not now. Actually, there's a lad up in Dublin there that does a podcast. Get him. Go
get his union card back off him.
Go get him. But anyway, come here to me.
What?
There's a few different reasons for this massive shift. Number one, our conversations and understanding around sex have shifted quite heavily. The notion of, this is neither, again, we should probably reiterate, Michael, this is not a good thing or a bad thing.
Go on.
We're not saying it's one thing or the other. It's just the way things have gone. And I think there are probably a few things that have shifted things significantly. The number one thing, Michael, is the notion of consent.
I don't agree that is the number one thing.
All right, okay, it might not be the number one thing, but I think it was heavily influential in deciding how we represent certain things, especially, Michael, when it came to harmful tropes in media. For example, Michael, I've just watched The Mummy with Brendan Fraser. We might even do an episode on it next week. That's funny, ladies and gentlemen, because we are doing an episode on it.
We are doing an episode, yeah. That's why you watched it.
But come here to me. There's a scene in it where Brendan Fraser lunges forward in his prison cage and snogs Rachel Weisz full on the mouth.
Rachel Weisz beer. Is she, in the version you saw, was she just made of a big stack of Nintendo consoles?
Yes, that was it. Rachel Weisz.
Yeah.
Yes. So Rachel Weisz gets full on snogged out of nowhere. And all I could think in my head was, Jesus, you'd never see that today.
You wouldn't see that today, Ben. And that's why the era of the heroic leading man getting the girl, going on an adventure and getting the girl, seems to be mostly over.
But that's not a bad thing, Michael, because...
No, hold on. We just said that we're saying it isn't or it is a good thing. And then you've said, no, it's not a bad thing.
In terms of harmful media...
Go on.
In terms of harmful media stereotypes...
Yes.
Probably not a bad thing that the big strong man giving her a kiss is gone.
I don't necessarily agree that is harmful, Ben, because I don't think there's evidence that is harmful.
All right. Well, that's fair enough, Michael, and that's your opinion.
Yes.
But we might say, Michael, that possibly mass representation of such an action could possibly reflect things poorly. The other interesting theory to this...
Hold on. Just before we go on that, because that's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. This is a generational shift. Different people are writing these movies for different audiences.
Absolutely.
But, sure, yes. Rick... What's Rick's name?
Rick O'Connell.
Rick O'Connell. Rick O'Connell, by modern standards, oversteps his boundaries there, laying a big kiss on her.
Oh, he does.
Yeah, he does, for sure. But also, they kill a shitload of people in that movie.
Yes.
So it's weird that, we might argue that, it's good that we're no longer having people going for kisses without consent. But, the movie, he also throws people off a boat and potentially kills them over a disagreement about a map.
But they were foreign lads, so it's fine.
So anyway, look, my point is that I don't think that this is necessarily a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to discuss. But I am going to stop you, though. Anytime you assume that this is progress, I'm going to stop you and say...
That's fair.
I don't necessarily agree that it's progress. It's change. And I'm not saying it's for the worse, but I'm not saying it's comprehensively, undeniably for the better either.
You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Mick Leonard against progress. That's what I heard.
I think everyone should just be grabbing strangers on the street and giving them a big kiss.
And a big kiss. But
and anyone who disagrees with me is a fucking extremist.
Michael, you hit me with a pretty good one there. You said generational difference. There has been a shift in both how we romance and how we represent it on screen. So like it's very interesting to think that it's not a necessary part of storytelling to make your two lead characters fall in love anymore.
Yeah, very much not. But so obviously there's a generational shift as well. But I don't think you can ignore that this is mostly coming from two countries. Ben, are there werewolves there? I think there might be werewolves in Ben's house. Is that why the rent is so cheap? Are you surrounded by werewolves?
Second.
If this was a 90s werewolf action film, you would fall in love with one of them and do a big huge kiss. Yeah, I think it's just normal dogs. It's just normal dogs, Ben. There's going to be so many complaints. We got so many complaints last time that there were normal dogs on the podcast. Come back to me. Come on, let's get on. Let's do more podcasts.
Just normal dogs. Just innocent normal dogs.
Ben.
Yeah.
I don't think it can be ignored that this change in values, this change in interest in depicting love and romance and, you know, attraction on screen, or the way that it's depicted, comes from the influence of big American business interest and Chinese business interest.
Well, go on, tell me more about that then.
Well, the more and more films are funded by the Chinese, as we well know.
Yes.
A grand bunch of lads.
A grand bunch of lads. If only they'd funnel some of that money over to Sure Listen. We'll shill.
We'll shill. We will not kiss each other ever if the Chinese will back us.
We won't even hint at it with a scene full of sexual tension.
Yeah. No, we won't. Oh, God, we won't even have that. We'll just have respectful, professional relationships with people that somehow blossom into, and then they fell in love just in text at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think there is not an appetite from large conservative countries.
Go on.
Big movie spending budgets and big movie censors for that kind of thing. So, particularly when a movie is funded by Chinese production companies, you know that there is going to be no romance in it.
Yeah.
So any of the Rock's movies in which the funding has come from China, generally, you can be pretty sure, action movie or not, female co-lead or not, if they do fall in love, it will be in a very professional, chaste way.
Yes, I really respect your rock hard abs, Mr. Rock.
Yeah, well, I really respect your family values. And I really respect the way that you've teamed up with us to solve this problem.
Teamwork gets me there, Mr. Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Exactly. Let's make love off screen.
Nom 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 nom.
Exactly. So there's that. But there's also the fact that a lot of the leading men of Hollywood are kind of, and this, I call this the Tom Cruise effect. They've kind of aged out of kissing.
Oh.
You can't have 60-year-old Tom Cruise on screen kissing 35-year-old women in the modern environment and not have people going,
This feels coercive.
I don't know if I want to. So Tom Cruise stopped kissing in films about 15 years ago, I think.
I think the church told him he had to.
I don't. Well, that's the thing, right? What has led to it? What has led to Tom Cruise now only having chaste? I mean, the relationship between Tom Cruise's character, Mission Impossible, and the female character from that, played by Rebecca Ferguson. What the hell is her name?
Ilsa something.
Ilsa, yeah.
Ilsa Faust?
Ilsa Faust. The relationship between them is a fabulous example of what I'm talking about.
That long hug in Venice, Michael.
Yeah. They had a long hug in Venice, didn't they? And anything else that happened off screen, and we don't need to worry ourselves about it.
Michael, what in fuck's name was that scene?
But that's what I mean. That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. There's this implication that they might be in love and fucking if you want. If you want to do a headcanon for it.
He just thinks she's his sister, Michael. He's just very committed to his sister, Ilsa Faust.
But this is kind of what I mean. I'm not implying, and I hope it's clear that I'm not implying that there's like this. I'm not saying that there isn't at the same time, but I'm not implying there's like this shadowy, secret Chinese Sino-American conservative body saying take all romance out of films or else you can't release it in our markets. But there's a commercial there might be, I don't think there is, but there's a commercial pressure on them that movies that only hint at things like that have a wider market these days.
Yeah, I mean, they do seem to be essential, and there is definitely concrete enough evidence, Michael, that a threat to the Asian distribution of a film is enough to make the film go,
Yeah.
The most recent example, non-romantically, of that, Michael, was Barbie.
Yes, go on.
Barbie represented a map. There's a map on screen in the Barbie film for, I'd say, 5 seconds. And this weird Barbie pulls down a map of the world drawn in crayon. And censors either in Taiwan, Vietnam, or China. It was in China. Took issue to the fact that Taiwan was represented as its own country, I think.
I don't think it was. I think it was Vietnam took issue with the lines that were drawn in the South China Sea.
That might have been it, yeah.
I think it was that.
But that's very interesting. And they changed it for the Vietnamese market. Now, that's not quite China, as the Vietnamese would have you know. But...
And you're well aware of that bit.
And I'm well aware of that. But it's enough to show that they will change for the Asian market.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we know that for a fact that they'll change for the Asian market. But what I'm really talking about is... I suppose what I'm getting at is... At the end of the day, all of these decisions, I don't think are moral decisions. I think they're financial decisions.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we could have our male lead be sexually aggressive, but is that going to cause so much backlash in America and China, our two biggest markets, that it's probably not worth it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think like there's all kinds of reasons it could be, Michael, but like one of the interesting ones we've seen in other cases is it's definitely a political decision, or like the one that jumps to mind for me, Michael, is Ant-Man 3.
Yes, go on.
Evangeline Lilly and Paul Rudd are supposed to be in a committed relationship with each other, and all they do is hug at the end of the film after they defeat the man that nearly kills Scott.
Yeah.
They have a big long hug.
A nice big hug, yeah. But, you know, the Marvel movies have gone that way as well. The Marvel movies, the early Marvel movies, were about the big strong hero saves the day and gets the girl.
Yeah.
Like Hulk had whatever Liv Tyler's
Betty Ross.
character's name was. Betty Ross. Tony had Pepper.
Pepper Potts.
Captain America had Peggy.
Peggy Carter.
Thor had Jane.
Yeah.
And that is very much not a thing anymore.
And we just got rid of all of them over time, Michael.
Yeah, well, we got rid of the male leads as well, like, to be fair. Like, Tony Stark's gone. Most of those characters are gone these days.
But we haven't reinstated the notion of relationships still.
No, exactly. So pretty much all of the modern movies, I suppose it comes close to being an exception, except for the last one. Guardians of the Galaxy had a male lead who was... up to stuff, but this is very much portrayed as a degenerate. Yeah,
but this is the interesting thing for me, Michael. So one of the things that we saw that massive shift from after 2010 was realistic depictions of love, and more importantly, the kind of breakdown of romantic love, which is a weird thing, but it does seem to have shaped how we look at films, or how we look at romance in things like the Marvel Universe. Because in that block of time, let's say from 2008 to 2015, where we got the large launching franchises of our Marvel world.
Go on.
Where we were focused on comic accuracy and, you know, who would be a good partner from the comics for this character. In the case of Tony Stark, it's Pepper Potts. In the case of Thor, it's Jane, etc. But over time, Michael, even the ones that we established as a full romantic interest, Peter Quill and Gamora, on the other side of that, years later, nearly a decade later, Michael, when we got the third installment, not only did they not reconcile the love that they lost, they both just go, no, this is grand.
It's fine, yeah. But the other thing about that particular relationship in cinema is Peter Quill and Gamora practically entirely happens off screen too.
It does. That's true. That's true.
I don't know how many times they kiss on screen.
Yeah.
It might be once. It might be none.
I think it's once. I think it's at least once.
Is it?
I don't know.
Does he throw the head in one or two? I don't remember because, like I said, it pretty much entirely happens off screen by that time in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Absolutely bizarre.
The other reason, Ben, that we're seeing less and less romance in films is modern heroines don't need romance.
They don't. They're strong, independent women that literally need no man.
And that is the huge backlash that's happening on the internet at the moment about the upcoming Snow White.
Oh, I think the Snow White thing is... I think that's a very unfortunate situation. So for people that don't know about this, right? Snow White is being remade in live action, as all Disney movies are. Yeah. And it stars Gal Gadot.
And causing controversy, as all Disney live
action films do. Gal Gadot is the evil queen, and green screen is going to be her scene partner for most things. And then it also stars Rachel Ziegler,
I believe.
Yeah.
She was in Shazam.
She was in Shazam, and she's going to be Snow White. Now, unfortunately for Rachel Ziegler, she has been very outspoken about how romance will not be the central focus of this. She said she's not dreaming of a prince coming to save her. She's dreaming of how she's going to be a badass female leader. Now,
yeah, go on.
The internet is fucking furious at her. On both sides. It's very, very interesting because there's been kind of a turn against what we now phrase as girl boss feminism.
Right.
You know, women can do it all and fuck men and blah, blah. That's gotten a little bit of backlash in the last couple of years. You know, the girl boss by any means necessary, ruthless kind of feminism. But a lot of other women have been like, it's fine to fall in love. It's okay. And you have that kind of the conservative right being like, what's so wrong with falling in love with a man and blah, blah, blah. So there's all kinds of weird backlash there. But I don't think Rachel Ziegler thinks these things at all. I think Rachel Ziegler is being fed talking points by a Disney executive board being like, we're going to push the feminist. I think so. I do.
I just thought Rachel Ziegler was a young political person she's only like 22.
Yeah, she's only a kid.
And I know it is the very definition of hubris for me, a 40-year-old, to be saying 22-year-olds are sometimes idiots. But I think, like, it's another aspect of, in the 50s and 60s and 70s, people just made movies and got on with it. I'm not saying that, like, movie stars didn't have political opinions and sometimes didn't talk about them, but it seems like Rachel Ziegler has been waiting for her chance to go, this is I'm going to make a point. And Disney must be going, oh, I thought Disney would be going, did you have to make a point?
To the point, Michael, that the son of the original co-creator of Snow White has come out and blasted her for this. He's like, Walt Disney and my father would be turning in their graves. And I was like, I don't know if you want to align your father too morally with Walt Disney.
Yeah.
Famous, maybe a tiny little mustache isn't so bad, Disney.
But yeah, so the kind of core of Sleeping Beauty, of Snow White, of True Love's Kiss will sort it all out for you. That's not going to be happening. So I don't know. Is she going to wake herself up?
A self smooch? I don't know.
Is she just gonna wake? Is she just gonna one of the classics?
One of the classics. The old armbar smooch.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the power, but I don't know. Maybe she's gay in this representation. Who knows?
No, but she has. Like, this is the interesting thing. We haven't really talked or distinguished between straight and gay relationships in this conversation.
I don't know if we're qualified to, Michael. I don't know.
Well, that's never stopped us before.
It's true. We do have the brazen audacity of two white men.
Exactly, yeah. I have the brazen audacity of two white men, let alone you also being involved. But Ben, what I'm saying is, It's not that, like, it's not that she's saying no man is going to come along and save me. She might be saying that too, but she's basically saying love isn't going to be a solution for this. Being a strong leader is going to be a solution for this.
How do you lead in a coma?
Yeah, how's she going to wake up? Is she just going to... are the dwarfs going to gather around her and say, Snow White, we need you to lead us out of the darkness? And she'll wake up? Is it going to be that on the nose?
I don't know.
I'm not going to say it anyway, but I'd love to know. I can't wait to read what does it on Wikipedia.
Ladies and gentlemen, what do you think the resolution to 2025's live action Snow White
At
is?
this stage?
I don't know. It might never get made, Michael. Who knows? Come here to me. Come here to...
What?
That's the other interesting thing is Rachel Zegler not part of SAG-AFTRA because she's making comments on a movie which is technically promoting it.
Yeah, she's being dragged through the coals because she was on the picket line, Ben. I don't know if I'm not piling onto Rachel Zegler here, or not intentionally anyway. But apparently, she was on the picket lines and was asked about it, and rather than saying, "I am one of the biggest up and coming names in Hollywood, and I'm here to support the people who are on minimum wage and struggling to live," she went off on one about herself and how she's playing one of the most iconic Disney characters and she had to be in makeup for 4 hours a day and she deserves every cent she...
Oh, dear.
And it was kind of like, I think you've missed the point a little bit there, because kind of the message of this strike is
we're all in this together.
Hollywood megastars we're talking about. It's we're all linking hands to protect the little guys.
Yeah, I don't know.
But it's to protect the little guys and Rachel Zegler. But that's kind of what I was talking about, where I was saying maybe she's just a bit of a dummy.
Yeah, maybe she just doesn't get it.
Maybe she's just young and opinionated, and someone in Disney is going, oh no.
This is not very smart, guys.
Yeah, but look, I don't know, because I don't know her, and I would hate to cast aspersions on her. Yeah, she might be razor sharp.
Ladies and gentlemen, what aspersions would you cast on Rachel Zegler? You can get in touch with us in a few different ways to let us know. You can find us on the interwebs at www.seomrabeag.com, seomrabeag.com.
It means tiny room in Irish.
Does indeed. You can find us also on the interwebs at www.seomrabeag.com on Acast. Just type it in there. You'll find it. It's no
Just
bother.
type it in. You'll find it.
You
Find it
no bother.
yourselves.
You'll find us on Instagram at SherLookSherListen.
Yeah.
You'll find us on TikTok at SherLookSherListen.
If you're on there.
If you're on there. TikTok's doing very well, Michael.
Zegler.
I tell you, TikTok might overtake our Instagram. A bit more pushing, a bit more lashing it in there.
Oh yeah.
Fast growing.
Yeah.
Fast growing. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to have your say, the best way to chat to us about anything raised on this podcast is get up on that Discord, baby.
Hop up on it. Tell us if you want to see sweaty bodies intertwined while soft 80s rock plays, or would you rather an implication that they might have had a little small kiss between movies?
I'd rather not see either. Get it off my screen. Jesus is the only romantic relationship for me.
What a twist! What a twist! I did not see that coming. I thought you were going to reveal that you're an aromantic. But no, it was Jesus the whole time.
It was Jesus the whole time. No one ever suspects Jesus Christ. So come here to me, ladies and gentlemen, get up in touch with us in a few different ways. You can join us next week when we talk to the Jesus of 90s cinema, Brendan Fraser, and like tell him, just double check if it's all right before you give someone a big kiss. Yeah, just check it out, Bren.
Yeah, just
a quick question.
Ask her dad first, Brendan.
Do you fancy a smooch? Do you not? That's either way's fine. Either one's grand.
Yeah. Women in the 20s love that.
Love it. We're out of here.
Okay,
Goodbye.
That's enough. We're gonna get in trouble.